And all right, we'll go ahead and get started with some introductions. So today we have Patrick Collier and Larissa with us. Patrick is the head of product training with Marq. He has a background in organizational psychology and social sciences and has a variety of experience in leadership and affecting organizational change. He loves helping people and has a knack for explaining things in a way that makes sense. Patrick is also an avid board gamer and enjoys hiking with his family. Larissa Rowe is our leader for the customer success team and a strong customer advocate. She's got a background in marketing and customer success, and she understands the importance of empowering customers to build and strengthen their brand. In her free time, she enjoys doing all things outdoors, including camping in national parks with her family and beekeeping with her husband. Right, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Patrick. And just a reminder, it's going to be recorded today. Any questions you can drop in the Q&A tab, and we'll be sure to answer them for you.
Thanks so much, Isabel. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first official Marq kickoff webinar. The purpose of today's webinar will be to either one, introduce you to Marq if you're new to the platform, or two, refresh you on what's new with the rebrand and some of the additions to the platform. A brief overlook of the agenda. We'll talk about everything from logging in, terminology, navigating the platform, the difference between templates and projects, a tour of the editor, and finally your export options. We are going to cover a ton of information today at a relatively quick pace. So as a reminder, we will be recording this webinar and sharing it out to all registrants. But also, please don't hesitate to throw your questions in the Q&A section so that we can get those answered for you. Larissa will either answer those in chat or surface them to me during the presentation. So let's talk about your very first experience logging into Marq. Most likely you'll receive an email inviting you to join a team, and it'll look like one of the two emails you see on your screen now. Either in the one case, it will encourage you to set your password. This means you've been added to the team, but a password hasn't been preset for you. So you'll follow that link, go to marq.com, and have the option to reset your password there. Alternatively, the email on the right shows that you've already got your password preset. Either your admin set it for you or you're using another form of login, and you're going to log in straight to Marq. Now, before we jump into the actual platform and talk through how it works in the navigation, I always like to clarify a few issues of terminology. Whenever you hear me say team or talk about sharing to the team or your team, that's the shared organizational account that you'll be working on in Marq. So if you've been invited to join a team, you're joining that organizational account. Now, you're going to be joining as a user. That's the base level of access to the platform. It's going to allow you to customize projects, edit, create, do all the things you would expect to do in the platform, but you're not going to have any of those admin controls. Admins are going to be either the account owner or other users who've been promoted up to admins, and they have some additional privileges and experience in the platform. Now, finally, the other last two terminologies that we like to address are templates and projects. So templates are going to be these professionally designed collateral, whether it be flyers or posters or social media that your design and marketing team or the Marq team has built out and allowed you to have access to. When you use a template, you're going to make a copy of it that becomes your project, your personal copy, that you can then proceed to customize and work through. Now that we have that out of the way, let's explore the platform. So as I said, your first time logging in will be following usually that email prompt, either to reset your password or to open Marq. When you do, you're going to land on a screen that looks very much like this for just about everyone. Now, we're going to take a full tour of this screen and all the navigation bars, but I do want to point out a couple of things. Your very first time logging in, you likely won't see any of the thumbnails you see here across the center of my screen. And that's because these are recent projects that I've been working on. As you start customizing your collateral, you'll have projects that will show up in your recent, and those thumbnails will start to populate. They're going to switch up over time as you continue to work on new projects and show what's most recent. Now, these are a fantastic tool to jump right back into a project you were working on, open it, and start customizing. But we'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, a couple other things that I want to point out on the home screen. The first is that you may not see the Marq icon here in the upper left. That's because your team account or your organization has the ability to customize that and have their own logo or imagery there as well. You should see your name or email down here in the bottom left. And that lets you know that you're logged in on the correct account. So let's look at some of the other tabs before we tackle the navigation bar. We've already looked at recent, which will be the first tab that pops up, and that's going to show you any projects you've recently worked on. Starred may be empty forever. You may eventually update it. This is where you can mark templates that you really like as favorites or starred and immediately open a new copy of those from here. And finally, popular is a really useful tab, whether you're an admin or new to the platform, to see what templates are most popular across your entire team. And that's really important. Recent is only going to show the projects that are yours as a user you own and have worked on. Starred will again reflect only what you have chosen to mark as your starred, but popular is going to show you which templates across your entire team are getting used most frequently or, of course, are most popular. Now, a couple other key things to navigate from the homepage. On the right-hand side, we see this little question mark. And if we click it, a drop-down appears that's going to take us either to our updated What's New feature, the Help Center, videos, courses, and webinars. So it's a direct link to learn more about the platform, either what we've just added, video tutorials, or other guides. And next to that is a bell or an alert icon. So it's important to note that Marq is tied to an email address. And so when you get information from the platform, it's likely going to send you an email, either a document's been shared with you, you have access to a new template, or you can also in the system click on this little bell icon to see any notifications there as well. In this case, I note that I've shared a new flyer with myself. Now you're going to navigate everywhere you go on the platform down this left-hand navigation bar, and we're going to talk about each of these tabs. We'll jump into some, others we're going to come back to. Now, one of the early tips I give in every training I do is that these 3 dash marks across the top left will collapse or expand that navigation bar. And because until you're very familiar with the icons, can be a little distracting when it's closed, just know you can re-expand that. And so now let's begin our tour of the navigation bar. So we're on the Home tab. The one below that's going to be My Projects. If you're coming over from LucidPress, you may recognize that as being My Documents before. We've changed it to reflect all the things you can do in Marq, which is more than just create documents. And so My Projects better encompasses what you can do today and what we'll be adding in the future. My Projects is where any copies of the templates you've used are going to live and where you can sort and organize those things. We'll come back to that tab once we're ready to start jumping into the editor. But for now, just know that's where all of your personal copies will live. My Images are where you're going to be able to find any images you've either uploaded to the platform or where you can upload additional images. So to add an image, we just click the Add button. We can either go to Plus or Folder of Images. In this case, it'll look through our platform or our device for an image, and we can upload it directly into Marq to be able to use to customize the projects we're working on. You can also use Unsplash to search for professional copyright-free images, or look under Shared with Me to see any image folders that your design or marketing team has shared with you. Now, I should note that some of the features that I'm going to highlight today may be turned off by your admin team or the account owner. And so if you don't see an option on my screen when you log in yourself, note that it could be turned off by your admin team. Or if you're not on an enterprise level account, some of those features may not be available as well. Templates are where you're going to find all of that professionally designed collateral that your marketing and design teams built out for you, or you'll find access to all of the Marq templates that we've created for you. We're going to come back to that as well, along with projects, once we get a little bit deeper into the training. Brand assets are where you'll be able to view and see all of the brand colors and collateral that your design and marketing team has loaded for you. Now, as a user, you won't have any ability to manipulate or add these, but you can certainly click through to see them. See all of the brand colors that have been added and made available to you. Review any brand images, icons, or logos. See which fonts have been loaded, any preset text styles, as well as some of the smart fields that are available there. Data automation is an advanced feature we won't dive into too much today. Just know that account owners and admins are able to tie a Google account to the team account, and from that use Google Sheets to pull in a variety of information via smart fields. Cart is only going to show you when you've got orders pending with us through our print partner, Alexander's. So if you click on Cart, you can see what those orders are, what their status is, and review those there. You will never see the option to restore admin. Restore admin is a function of me on the back end impersonating an account, in this case, impersonating my Attest account. Now, this last tab is perhaps the most important tab that I'll be able to show you in the platform from the homepage today, and that's the Help Center or Resource Library. If we click on that, it's going to open a new tab for us where we can search for any tool or feature we want to use in the platform, whether it's how to add images, and take us directly to a page that talks about how to use that particular tool or feature. Alternatively, from the homepage of the Help Center, we can scroll down to see an introduction to Marq, how to set up our account, or training videos, courses, and other services available in the platform. So the Help Center is going to be an invaluable tool to help you start learning how to use the platform or to find tools and features you're not that familiar with. So we've already covered a ton of information here on the homepage. We've talked about where to see your recent projects that you've already opened, popular, which is going to show what your team at large is using most frequently, and each of the navigation tabs. So now let's look at how you are most likely going to use Marq your first time in the platform. If you're first time logging in, again, you won't have any pre-existing projects to open. So you're most likely going to go to the templates tab. It's going to default to brand templates, where you'll be able to see all the templates your design and marketing team has built out and put in place for you. We've changed this a little from when it was LucidPress before, and so I'll go over some of those changes now. The first of which is, note across this top bar, you see all of your options for viewing templates. This was previously in a drop-down. We find it much cleaner and easier to navigate by having them aligned across the top. In addition, your brand templates have been updated a bit. We now have a section for featured templates where your design team or admins can mark specific templates as being current for a certain time period or new, or in any other way draw your attention by marking them as featured. And so they can have as many as they'd like here, and we'll just see those expanded down. Beneath those is, again, that popular tab, the same as on the homepage, which templates are seeing the most use amongst my team at large. And then beneath that, all the other brand templates that my design team has created for me. Now, over time, you may see dozens or perhaps even hundreds of templates. Note you can use these categories that are going to be designed and created by your admin team to quickly sort, filter, and organize down to just the templates you want. If you know the name of the template, you can also search for it across the top, and it'll quickly filter down to the templates you're looking for. Now, before we dive into customizing a template, I do want to show you the other options, which if we go all the way across, we see the Marq templates. This is more than 8,000 templates that our professional design team has built out and put into place for you to make use of. This is one of those features I like to point out, though, that may be turned off by your admin team. So if you don't see the access to the Marq templates, that means they've been turned off for your team. These templates will work exactly the same as the brand templates. We would grab a copy and start customizing. And so we'll do that in just a moment. I do want to pause and see if, Larissa, there's any questions that have surfaced or anything we need to address before diving into the actual editor.
We're all clear right now.
Perfect. I'm going to clear this search function so I can see all of the templates available to me under my brand templates. I can click on any one of them and get a greater preview of what the template's going to look like. If there are additional pages, I would see those lined along the side here as well. And if I like what I see, I can hit Use Template. Now, it's important to note, as soon as I hit Use Template, I'm going to be prompted to name my personal copy. So again, I'm making a personal copy of this template that I can start to customize. And so we'll name this Test Patrick. And once I hit Create Document, it's going to open up a new tab where I'll have access to the editor to start to customize this. Now, I'm going to let that tab open, but I'm going to navigate away from it to show you some other things as far as projects, and we'll come back to it in just a moment. So we see the editor loading. I'm going to go back to the Projects tab and to the home page. I want to talk briefly about what happens when you create a new project. So we went to Templates. We found a template that we liked. We chose to create a copy of it and name it, and it immediately opened up the editor. However, at the same time, it saves a copy of that here under My Projects, and we see it pop up here, Test Patrick, along with any other projects that I've been working on. It's important to note that you can rearrange and organize your projects as you see fit. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to right-click in an empty space, choose Create New Folder, and we can name this folder anything that we like. Archive, we can name it for a specific event or project we're working on. And Marq's going to create that folder for us where we can then drag and drop our projects to better organize and sort them. You can create subfolders within those folders and have as many folders as you need to sort and organize the projects you're working on. Now, one thing I always like to point out when demonstrating the project page, you do have the option to delete projects from here, but I would caution you when you do that, as Marq is not going to warn you that you're deleting it. So if I hit the 3 dots for more and I choose delete, the system's simply going to remove it from my projects folder and throw it into the trash we see over here. Now, after 7 days, that trash is automatically going to empty, and that project's going to be irrecoverable after that. Now, that's a small issue if you're just updating a single page or a simple flyer. But if you've been working on a complex document like a digital magazine and have made substantial edits, it would be rough to start that over. So again, I would encourage you to use folders and subfolders to help organize your projects until you're certain you won't need them anymore. Now, from the project page, I could hit open and open up the editor and start customizing this project. I can go to the home page and we see now that it's populated as recent because I just started it, and I could open it from there as well. But since I have the tab open, I'll click on the tab and reopen the editor. So now let's take a tour of the editor here in Marq, and then we're going to actually start to customize this particular project. Now, I will reiterate one more time, some of the features I'll show you in the editor may not function for a particular project or template that you're working from, and that's because your admin team has the ability to lock some of those features, and we'll talk more about locking in just a bit. So from the left-hand side of the editor is your ability to add things to a project you're working on, whether it be adding additional pages, and we can hit new page and add a blank page, or if there's a duplicate page, we can add it there. Whether we're adding text boxes, additional text boxes to customize and edit. Shapes, we can view our images and add them directly to the project from there. See any of the stock images that we have. Add tables. Use data automation, which is again that feature where we tie a Google Sheet to the shared account and we're able to pull information from that. Use a variety of smart fields, and we'll talk more about those in just a moment. Or some of our advanced features, which we won't dive into much today, but these include adding buttons and hot links, videos, and advanced interactive features to your document or your project. Across the top are symbols that you should be familiar with if you've worked with most text editors. The ability to bold, italicize, underline all your text, change font or colors. Note again, if those have been blocked out or locked by an admin, they'll be grayed out as they are here, and you won't have the ability to use those. Finally, on the right-hand side, you're going to see your ability to get more granular with the way you've laid out a particular project you're working on. Again, so we can adjust the font, see the different paragraph styles, and all of the options that are available to us there. We can adjust the shape, adding a border, shadow, adjust the opacity, and even adjust the layout where we'll move things to the front and back. If you're designing your own project from scratch, this will be a super useful tool. But most often, if you're editing a pre-existing template that your design team has built, you won't have a lot of need for it on the right-hand side. Now, before we get into actually customizing this, I want to show you by far the most important tool here in the editor. So if everything else seems like a blur, it's going too quickly, I want to pause for a moment and show you this super important tool that will help you so much, whether you are an experienced user in Marq or brand new to the platform. In the upper right-hand corner, we see this option called Feature Find, this little set of binoculars. Mark this in your mind. Remember this, it's one of the most useful tools in the editor. If we click on it, it brings up a search bar where we can start to search for any tool or feature we want to use in the platform. Once we type it in, Mark's going to generate this little animated arrow that will try to show you where in the editor you can find that tool or feature. If we mouse down from option to option, it's going to jump from spot to spot, trying to show us exactly where in the editor we can find that tool. If we get down to the question marks, it's no longer showing us where in the editor we can find that tool, but rather it's going to open up that resource library again directly to a page that discusses that particular tool or feature. And again, it's opening up a new tab, so we can jump right back to the project in the editor to continue working, or we can read through the uses of that particular tool or feature. Again, the Feature Find is one of the most powerful and useful tools you're going to find in the platform when you start working in it, again, whether you're experienced or brand new. So now let's look into how quickly and easily you can start to edit and customize projects that you have access to. One of the first things that I want to show you in the editor is under View, and we're going to go to choose Show Locking Restrictions. The reason we're doing this is, again, your admin and design team, as they build out these templates, can apply locks that will help make sure you stay on brand or don't accidentally change something in the template that you shouldn't. If you see a red lock, as we do around this date box, that tells us it's fully locked. We have no ability to edit or change that. As a user, you don't have the ability to turn those locks on or off, nor can you make any adjustments to something that's fully locked. If we see a yellow lock, instead it tells us that there's a portion of this particular image, shape, page that's locked, and it tells us what part of that is. So in this case, this text box, the position and size has been locked, meaning I can't readjust it around the page, I can't move it about, but I can certainly still edit the content inside. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the locks for now. Again, under View, Show Locking Restrictions. And note, if I click on that text box, the lock appears again to let me know that it's partially locked. Now, to edit text is as easy as double-clicking in a text box. We see my cursor goes live, the box turns green, and we can start to type whatever we're working on into the platform. Now, at this point, I do want to point out that Marq has dynamic saving. So as I make changes to it, notice up here across the top, it says saving, and after just a second, all those changes will be automatically saved. There's no save button I need to hit, and if I work really quickly and try to close out before it's saved, it'll prompt me that it hasn't had a chance to save yet and ask for a moment. Now, the other really great feature that I want to show you in the editor, as you start to make changes, I can easily backspace and erase the double T there that I didn't need to make, but across the top, I see these two arrows for undo and redo. So I can undo any changes I made all the way back to the original version of the document, or redo those if I wanted to keep them in place. Additionally, I can go to File and look at revision history to see any changes that I've made to my document over time. So if I've had to come back later and I wanted to see what the last edit I made, I can look at the revision history there. So we can edit any text box that we have access to just by double clicking and starting to make changes in it. Now note, some text boxes may have this style locked as well, in which case we can see our options to bold or italicize are grayed out across the top. That means we've had that locked down. We don't have the ability to edit that, but we can still edit the content. Swapping out images is just as easy. We can double click on an image, select a new one from either images we've uploaded, or search through Unsplash for those. In this case, we'll check this image here and insert it, and it'll immediately drop into the project we're working on. It's important to note that Marq will do its best to make the image match the location that you put it into, but this is one case where we can use that right-hand side option. We see images, and if we hit the drop down, we see we have the option to crop and mask or to adjust the fit to ensure we have the image laid out exactly as we'd like to see. So again, we can double click, swapping out images really quickly. We can double click on text to make any changes or edits we'd like to see there. And we can add images to the platform as well. Now, before we talk about finishing your project, I do want to show you what you can do as far as adding some additional features. So we're going to add a blank page. And if you missed that, I just scroll down and add a new page. Again, note that your admin team does have the ability to limit or lock down the extra pages you can add. But in this case, I want to show you just how easy it is to further customize some of the features in the platform. So I can drag over a text box. And in this case, when I'm dragging text boxes over, these have been pre-designed by my admin team or my account owner to match our brand settings. I can readjust those as needed and start typing immediately into those. Additionally, I can drag in a variety of shapes onto my document and then use the right-hand side to adjust the border of those, add fill if I'd like to, or I can go to my images and drag and drop an image directly into a shape, in which case it will immediately match the layout of that shape. From there, I can drag and adjust the size and make it look exactly as I'd like to see it. Now, there are the other advanced features we won't dive into today, but I do want to talk briefly about Smart Fields. Smart Fields are a fantastic resource your design team may be making use of, where the system will pull your information. In this case, I'm using the example account. So instead of first name, as soon as I pulled it over, note it populated to say example. I can see that I could convert that from a smart field back to text, but it's going to look for the information tied to a specific user and pull that directly into a project for them. So if I were to create a template with first name, last name, email, and populate all those into the project, the user who opens it, it's going to pull that information from their account, or it'll give them a quick warning across the top to let them know they're missing that smart field and encourage them to populate that information. The rest are more of our advanced features, and we won't dive into those today. But again, it's adding buttons and hot links, publishing videos, or adding some of our scrolling text fields. Now, before we go much further, I do want to pause again and see if there's any questions that have been surfaced, Larissa, we need to address. And then we'll talk about collaboration and exporting our final project.
Hey, Patrick, yes, we do have 2 questions in the Q&A. First one is from Kurt. He says, will the ability to style text links be added? Or if it's there, where do I find it? Currently, adding a hyperlink adds a blue underline that I wish I could control or make invisible.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting things you can do in that regard. It's a little bit of an advanced feature, so I don't want to dive too much into it, but I will show you this quick tip or trick. What we can do is add a shape, and we can actually choose this shape to have our link, in which case we'd hit the link button and add the link there. Then we can drag a text box over it. We could remove the outline from the shape, essentially making it invisible. And when they go to click on that, that'll be their link to follow. So we could say, click here, or something similar along those lines. Or using one of our advanced features, drag one of our buttons over and add a link to that as well. In this case, we could add a text button. And now there'll be no underline once we add a link there. We just click follow that.
Great. And then our second question from Leanne. Can you predefine shape styles and or image frames and template them?
So I want to make sure I understand. So when if you're a designer, for example, and you're designing a future template that someone will use, or let's just say you're a user who has access to build out from a blank page, you can only have access to the shape library that's here. But if you are building out this template, we can drag over a shape, and we can, of course, like all the others, lock out. If you're an admin, have the ability to lock certain aspects of that, whether it's the size and shape of that particular shape, meaning they can't adjust or drag it. If it's a text box, we can lock, again, the positioning there as well. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but as you begin to work through the platform, using those locks will allow you to make those changes to that. Locks are typically an admin feature, though if you create your own blank document, you can turn those on as well as a user to have those help adjust or keep you from accidentally dragging something off page or otherwise.
Great, thanks, Patrick. And Leanne, if you have any more clarifying questions, just throw them in the chat, and that's all we've got for now.
Perfect. So let's say we work through this. In this case, it's a very simple document or project we're working on. We could customize the date here. We could adjust the rest of those. And now we're ready to see if we're ready to export our final project out for the world. So there are a couple of other things I want to show you before we get to that. The first is the collaborative nature of the platform. So again, remember when we talk about team, that's everyone on this shared organizational account, but also anyone else that you want to say has access to Marq, you could collaborate with as well. We see this button that looks like a little person with a plus symbol. If we hit that, Marq is asking us who we would like to share our current project with. So we can start to type a name and it'll bring up anyone that's part of our team. We could also add in an email of someone who has access to Marq that may not be a part of our active team. We can choose what level of sharing we're going to give them. Edit and share, which means they can not only edit our personal copy, but share it out with other folks as needed. Edit, of course, will just give them the ability to edit or make changes. Comment will allow them to leave a personal note for you on the projects, either making recommendations or indicating their approval. And view will just give them a preview version. They can see what the final version would look like. We can give them a custom email and have them notified by the system. And this is also one of those cases where once we share it, they'll get an alert. That little bell icon from the homepage will let them know they've had something shared. Anytime I hit the collaborator button again, I can see anyone else I've added previously. I can adjust what level of access I want to give them on the fly. Or if I hit that X, I can remove their access entirely. Now, one of the great things about working collaboratively in Marq is if I were able to log in as myself again on another account or whoever I'm collaborating with, I would see an icon here letting me know they're logged in. I could see their cursor moving around and we could work together to quickly customize this and collaborate on it. We could use the chat feature down here in the bottom right to talk live while we work on it, making changes, working together. Or if they are going to review it later or I need to leave them a note, I can click on any feature that I want to highlight, right click and choose to add a comment. So I can at that member of my team, which is telling the system they're going to get an email letting them know they have this comment. And I could say anything from please review to add a photo, add a new copy line. Once I hit comment, we'll see these little quotation marks in a chat bubble appear there. I can click on that anytime to see comments I've left or if they comment back to me, and we have a record of our communication. It's important to note these will never show up in the final export. You're only going to see these while you're in the editor here in Marq. And so we can communicate back and forth, really customizing this, being ready to share it out with the world. Once I think it's all set, I have a couple of options for exporting. And again, I want to note again that your admin team has the ability to limit some export options. The first is the preview button, where I can see what the final product will look like. If there are multiple pages, I can click through those. And if this particular project happened to have any live links, I'd be able to see those highlight here and be able to use those. If everything looks good, I can go back to the editor and I can download, where I can download as a PDF, PNG, or JPEG, choose which page or which page range I want to download, select what resolution. It may or may not already have a color profile applied to it by the designers of that that template, whether or not I want crop and bleed marks, and what level of PDF. Once I hit download, I now have a digital PDF copy that I can share however I like, whether I send to a local print vendor, share via email link, or any other way that I'd like to share that out. Alternatively, we see the share button next to that with a little paper airplane. That's going to give us our options to post to social media or publish our document to the web. Web publishing is an advanced feature we won't dive into too much today, but in future webinars, we'll cover posting to social media and posting to the web as well as setting up some of the advanced features in the editor. But just know those options live there. Finally, I can hit order prints, in which case I'll be ordering directly from our print partner, Alexander's, though your team may have set up a print integration where you're ordering from your local printer or one of our other print partners. I'm going to close out that tab. We're back on the home page now. I want to do a brief review, and then we're going to pause again for some questions. So again, from the home page, when I first log in, I'm going to be on my recent tab, and I'll see any recent projects I've opened up. Again, those will rotate over time. And if I hit open from here, I'm going to open up the editor and begin to start customizing that all over again. Starred would be any templates that I marked as starred or my favorites in the template library. And popular is going to show me which templates are being used most often across my entire team. Again, I can jump right back into projects, open any project I've worked on. I do want to note that you see this little icon now that tells me I've shared this particular project with someone else. I can hit that button and see who I shared with and at what level, and I can still drag and drop into folders as needed. Templates, I can go and review any of the templates I have access to, as well as, if it's available, all of the thousands of Marq templates that I can quickly customize and make my own. Images are where I'll upload any copies of images I want to be able to work with, as well as see the shared with me, where I'll see any folders that my design or marketing team has shared with me of stock images, B-roll, whatever it may be. I can look in brand assets and see which brand collateral my team has uploaded for me, but I don't have any ability to edit that. We won't dive into data automation much more than to say it's an admin setting that allows them to tie a Google account to the team and bring over Google Sheets for more smart field options. Carts, where I'll review any print orders I have pending. You'll never see Restore Admin. And again, from the home page, the Help Center is the most useful tab you'll have. That's that resource library for all things Marq. So I do want to pause and see if there's any questions about either the use of the platform, the editor, or navigation.
Hey, Patrick, it does look like we have one that would be good to highlight. Would you be
Yeah.
able to go over the header and footer options in a project?
Absolutely. So we're going to go to My Projects. We are going to open this project again. And this is a great time to show you how the feature find works in that regard. So I'm going to go to feature find, and let's say that I don't know where to find header or footer. And now I start to type it, and we see that I can go to insert and choose to insert a footer or a header directly into the project I'm working on. So we would go to insert, we would scroll down, and we would insert the footer or header that we wanted. We can adjust the placement and spacing of it there. One thing I do want to point out, notice that the actual background or the actual page itself is slightly blurred out. We're working in a different layer of the editor now, and it tells us that to stop editing that, we need to hit escape because we can't actually change the project itself. We're only adjusting the placement in the header and footer here. We would hit escape to go right back to the page that we are working on. And so we would do the same with both of those. Again, feature find, I can't overstress how useful it'll be. You just click on that and start typing a tool or feature you want to use, and it's going to try to show you exactly where you can find that tool or feature in the platform.
Thanks,
Great
Patrick.
question.
Another question, would you be able to demonstrate how to change a color of a shape on multiple pages?
So are we looking to change all at once or just
Yes.
individual shapes?
All at once.
So we're going to type in find, and then we see under file and new, we have find and replace. When we click on that, we can look for a variety of things. Most likely it's going to be text in those cases. And so you'll be able to quickly replace text. I don't believe there's a feature that's going to allow you to replace multiple shape colors all at once. You're going to have to do those individually.
I believe if you can select each shape, even on multiple pages, then you'll be able to change it, but you will have to manually select the shapes yourself.
Yes, I guess I should clarify, there's not an automated feature that's going to find those and do those for you, but you can select multiple shapes on a page by holding down Shift and clicking on them. And then obviously we can mouse over and swap all the colors there as well. Great questions.
Hey, Patrick, we've got one more just asking to quickly go over how to create folders for grouping projects, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go from the home page to my projects, where we can see the folder I created as well as all the projects that are in it. I can right click in any open space and I see the option to either start a new project from a template, from a blank document, or to add a new folder. I'm going to click new folder. It's going to prompt me to name whatever this folder will be. In this case, we're going to call it test, and we're going to choose OK. It'll take just a second for the platform to catch up, but it'll add that new folder here called test. I can also see under my projects, I have the archive folder, and shortly I'll have that test folder available. From there, I can left click on any project that I want and drag it into that folder, and it's going to add it directly into it. I can do that with as many projects as I like, creating as many folders as I need to. In addition, if I open that folder up, I can right click in an empty space within that folder to start building out subfolders. And I can do that pretty much as deeply as I need to organize and sort all of my projects. So I could create a new folder within, we'll call this test 2. And it'll populate that folder, and I can then drag and drop from that folder or from within to the subfolder as well. And so I can get really granular in helping to organize my projects. And that's good because over time, you may build up dozens or hundreds or more of projects as you continue to work in the platform.
Great.
Note on the left, oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna move to our next question if whenever that's finished.
Yeah, just really quickly, I want to point out on the left-hand side, if I hit the drop-down arrow, I see the test folder and then the test 2 within that folder as well. And so again, as granular as you like to sort and organize things in the platform.
Thanks, Patrick. And then we have a few questions. So it sounds like it'd be good to go over how to look at previous edits and versions of a project and how you can revert to that previous version.
Yeah, so we could hit open here, but I've still got my test project open as a new tab. So I'm going to click on it there. Now, let's assume I didn't know where to look at for that. I'm going to use the feature find again, and I'll start typing revision. And then I see the option for revision history. It's going to be found under file and revision history. I can click on it there, and let me move this out of the way. I can see each change that I've made. I can name the versions if I need to, or I can click on one to restore back to that version, even creating a new copy or a new project from that version if I needed to. So let's say I really like the revision that I'd started back at 1:31 p.m. I can create a new copy and work from that while leaving the revision I've just done still in place. So again, we're going to go to File. We're going to scroll down to Revision History, or I could use the Feature Find to help me. I'll see each of the versions here. And again, I can name them, which is super useful if I'm working on a complex document or one where I'll have maybe multiple versions of. If I click on one, I have the option to either create a new copy from where it is now or to restore it back to that version. Super great question and a super useful tool in the platform.
Great, thanks, Patrick. And that's looks like that's all the questions we've got at the moment.
So if I can leave you with one parting tip in the platform, it's this: unless you're an admin, in which case you're probably more familiar with the platform than this tutorial will show you, you can't really break anything in Marq. The worst mistake you could possibly make would be to have a really complex project you've been building out that you deleted instead of storing in a folder and then you need it back. Unfortunately, once that trash empties, you can't get it back and you'd have to go back to templates, grab a new copy and start again. Otherwise, there's nothing you can do to break anything in the platform. Using both the Help Center and Feature Finder is going to guide you through finding any procedure or tool that we didn't show today. As well as, remember, from the Help Center, you can scroll down, watch any additional training videos we've uploaded. And I should note I'm working to update all of our training videos to reflect the new brand. Review our courses, look for additional upcoming webinars, or read more about the platform itself. I hope you found this very useful today. If you have any questions, I would encourage you to reach out either to your customer success manager, your account manager, or to our support team.